All right. Hello out there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, and welcome back to yet another Solace Office Hours. It is June 30th, 2026. Happy half year, I guess. Tomorrow's July 1st. And for those of us joining from Canada, I guess a little from Canada, happy Canada Day tomorrow. All right, so today, sorry I missed you last month, by the way. We were traveling for our annual Solace kind of kickoff. And so, yeah, didn't have a stream in May, but we are back right at the end of June for a look at the new features that just got released for the brand new 10.26.0 LTS release. So it's our Solace software broker, hardware broker, appliance, cloud. The Solace version just got dropped. So to help me present all this, I am very happy to be joined by my colleague and friend, Paul Kondrat. I'm going to bring you to the stage here. Hey, Paul, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. How are you doing?
Oh, no problem. I'm doing well, thanks.
All right. Well, why don't you, for those that don't know, and maybe haven't actually met you in person or on cam, but why don't you introduce yourself and say hello?
So I'm Paul Kondrat. I think I'm in my 22nd year at Solace now. So I've been involved with the broker the whole way pretty much. So there's almost all aspects of the broker have my fingerprints on them in some way.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy to be here today to talk a little bit about the new LTS release that we just released last week.
Thank you. Yes. So, I mean, working under Steve Butchko for many, many years, who was our PM for a long time at Solace. And now, yeah, just any questions that I have about broker stuff specifically, Paul is my go-to guy. And I'm assuming a few people on the stream have emailed with you. But yeah, first time on the office hours. So welcome and thanks for being here. I'm in Toronto. It's a beautiful day here, getting kind of sunny. Paul, you're joining from headquarters from Ottawa?
Yeah.
All right. So, well, if you're out there in the world and you can hear us, say hello. Say where you're joining us from. Say hello. Welcome to the stream. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and on the Solace community. I think we're on Solace community today. But yeah, and if you're watching the replay later, thank you for checking it out. Always good to have you here. And yeah, say hello. Put it in the chat. Say where you're joining us from. Okay, so Paul. One thing I would just want to say. Paul's a nice guy. So when I first started at Solace 15 years ago, so you know I'm quite young compared to Paul here. He was the very first person that ever came up and said hello. Some email went out to the staff and said, "Hey, we have a new joiner called Aaron." And Paul was sitting in the cube next to me that week when I was looking for a desk. And you were very polite to come over and say, hello, how you doing? I'm Paul Kondrat. And I appreciate that, man. So
I don't actually remember the story, but
no, it happened. Yeah, you made a good impression there. So a couple people saying hello from Raleigh, Snavladmu. Got that right? I'm sorry. Raleigh, Carolina. Good morning. Welcome to the stream. Or hello. Hey, Manglobe. Welcome to the stream. Hello. Welcome. Hello. Hey, how you doing? Hello from UK. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us towards the end of your day. India. Oh, it's getting in the evening for you guys. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in to today's topic. So we are going to be talking. Oh, we got another someone from Europe. Greetings from Germany. Hello. Thank you for being here. All right. So thanks for all the shout outs. Come keep saying hello. We're gonna and if you have questions, as always, about this or any other Solace topic, if you have a burning question that you want to ask Paul, something broker specific, he is here. He's our captive audience for an hour. So thanks for doing that. All right. So Paul, unlike usual, I usually get my presenters to do all the work. You know, usually I have product management come on, Daryl, Andrew, Rob Tompkins, these guys, and they'll do some presentation or demo on the latest and greatest. Today, I'm going to be doing the driving. So you just have to sit there and talk about things and help me fill in the blanks because I don't know all the details, but that's what we're going to be talking about. And not only the broker, we'll take maybe a look at some of the stuff across the platform in general. We can talk about a high level. But again, if you have questions or comments, please put them in the chat. Sanjeev, hello from New Jersey. welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here. Hey, Cassie from London. All right, more from Germany. All right, thanks everybody. good chats. All right, let me hide this this banner here. All right, so Paul, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. There we go. I assume everybody can see that. Yep. Okay, so I went and looked at the release notes, not only the release notes, but the release history from the Solace broker, and pulled together kind of a highlights reel. This is not every feature. We don't want to boil the ocean. We're not going to sit here and talk about it forever. But yeah, let's go through a list of a couple things. And again, if you have questions about a specific feature or something you've been waiting on, or so you just want to ask Paul a question, please put it in the chat and we'll keep an eye on it. So, all right, let's get into it, right? New since 10.20. So 10.25.0 came out last June. This is our LTS schedule. And we're going to kind of take a look at things that have come out since then. So first of all, for Solace software broker runners, if you're running Solace in Kubernetes, we have made an extra health check endpoint for your for monitoring the health of the broker. We have had the kind of the activity one for, like, you know, is it guaranteed active or direct active for quite some time to know for the load balancer to point at it. But I'm assuming, Paul, that this feature came about because of like Helm charts or things would want to know whether the pod is healthy, basically checking if the standby broker is in a good state or what, right?
Yeah, well, there, you know, there's the normal kind of load balancer, active, inactive endpoint that we have, but then Kubernetes has some pretty specific requirements for, you know, readiness and readiness to, you know, take activity, like in the case of like a rolling upgrade or something like that. And so we were in the Helm chart. I mean, we had to fulfill this requirement. And so in the Helm charts, there was, you know, some shell scripts that we were injecting into the container when the container was launched that would reply back to these requests to know the readiness of the pod. They were complicated because it's kind of a distributed, readiness is kind of a distributed thing between both the primary and backup brokers. And so the scripts, you know, there was, unfortunately, there were a fair number of bugs in them that we found over the years. And I thought it just made a lot more sense to have the broker team maintain this readiness information and have it presented, you know, just as an HTTP endpoint. So it's, you know, it's a pretty specific to Kubernetes thing. So, you know, if you're not using Kubernetes, you probably wouldn't have reason to use this, but it'll be baked into the Helm chart. And, you know, of course, the Solace Cloud will be using it in cloud deployments for when they're doing upgrades and stuff like that.
So as you know, I went off and built some Helm charts for our Solace Cache product, our last value cache for a customer. And so I kind of went deep with the help of Claude on learning Helm and kind of learning all this config and, you know, learning about recycling pods and, you know, readiness and all this kind of stuff, the different probes that are there. And I kind of stumbled onto the fact that the Solace broker, I didn't actually know that this existed until about 2 weeks ago. And I knew about the kind of the activity one, you know, which one is active, but I did not know that there was an endpoint exposed that would monitor for the readiness of it. And I was thinking, you know, if Kubernetes decides to shut down, you know, the primary broker because for some reason it's being upgraded or something, the backup broker, even though it's not active, it needs to it needs to report its status to say whether it's like the message pool's in sync, whether it's ready to take over, or whether it's in a bad state, it's not in sync. And I was like, this is a massive gap in our product. But and then support pointed me to this to the page here, and I was like, oh, good, you guys figured that out on your own. And it sounds like it, yeah, having it baked into the broker is the better way to do it rather than kind of having custom scripts and whatnot running inside the in the pod. So
yeah, like the Helm charts and stuff.
Oh,
you know, deployed these scripts, so you wouldn't.
I can't hear you. Oh, this happened again. See, this happened last time, Paul. Sorry, it's probably just me. If someone wants to put in the chat that they can still hear Paul, I'm just going to double confirm. I'm going to have to switch my headphones here again. This happened last time. You can hear me though, right? Yep. All right. It's just me. Why does this happen? microphone. Sorry, everybody. Why does this happen? Speakers. Say something, Paul.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep. All right. It's just me. Sorry, everybody. So these are my little hidden earphones that have often been great, but this is like the third stream that they've died on me or something. It's not even dying. They're wired. So you're on my laptop speakers now. So I will, hopefully no echoes or anything. All right. So sorry, Paul, I interrupted you or I couldn't hear you. Say again.
Yeah, you sound okay. So I don't think we're picking up any echo from your speakers there. But all I was saying was that these, the function that is performed by this readiness endpoint was being performed before. It's just that the Helm chart was injecting the script into the pod when it deployed it, so you wouldn't have known it was there, but it was being kind of done. So you won't necessarily notice that much difference, but
it's a nice to have.
Definitely, and then
nice to have, especially if you're rolling your own software broker deployment, right? You're running Kubernetes yourself. So
well, that's just it. I was looking at the script in the Helm charts, and I was saying like a customer, if they were trying to write their own Helm chart, would have no hope of getting this logic correct. So we need to bake it into the broker so that it can be easily exposed.
Not no hope. I mean, it's
okay,
small.
Sorry, little hope.
we have some pretty advanced customers, I'd like to say. All right, that's cool. All right, enough of that one. All right, so let's on a little bit on security and authentication. This feature was for a customer that basically wanted to make sure that they basically couldn't log in with local username and password using SEMP or into the broker. So basically make manager logging into the GUI, the manager GUI, OAuth only, and basically restricting basic username password to CLI. So, I mean, as you can see, meaningfully shrinks the management attack surface. Can you expand on that a little bit, Paul? Like, I mean, I guess it's a security thing for audit people. They don't want to be able to log in without OAuth or what?
Well, yeah, that's just it. A lot of people have, or a lot of customers have requirements for removing basic authentication from all of their, deployed applications and stuff like this. And so we really didn't have any way of disabling basic authentication. It's still pretty tightly baked into CLI, so you couldn't really turn it off, because if we did give you, just say, well, you can, turn it off completely, then if you got into trouble, like in a break glass type scenario, way of logging in. So we added this knob that is, I think is a reasonable workaround here. You can turn it off for kind of lock it in the manager, so it won't, on the manager login screen, it'll no longer display the box for username and password. So if you're SSOing in, you'll just see the login with button on the login screen. You can't do any config changes using SEMP, but still, if you and you can block port 22 or restrict access to it, using your firewall. But then if you do need to get into the CLI, to fix something because you broke SSO or something like this, there's still a way to get in there and fix it. Kind of using break glass type powers.
That makes very good sense. Interestingly, I have a customer that was asking essentially for the reverse of this feature, where they wanted to restrict message VPN users and stuff from being able to use SEMP. I guess because they had too much automated SEMP scripting out there in their estate running against their broker, and they wanted to basically say you can only log in with CLI, and they want to be able to disable SEMP for a particular username and password. So kind of the reverse, but not for very different reasons. Not from a security perspective, more from a Solace getting overwhelmed with SEMP kind of reason. So
I see.
All right, on to the next one. Another security and authentication feature, and this was for a customer of mine actually, and maybe they're out there listening to us. But we rolled this out at the very beginning of the year. Basically, the ability for when you have multiple authentication sources, if the username password is not locally configured on the broker, to fall back to LDAP. Now, this would be for client usernames, right? This is not for management users, right?
This is for client users. Yeah, for management users already kind of do this. Again, for like the, kind of the break glass scenario, right? If if something gets screwed up and you can't reach your LDAP server, then you can't log into the broker to fix it. So management users already fall back to internal so that you can keep like a couple key accounts stored locally for break glass scenarios. In this particular case here, what we have is it's fairly common for a large organization to have all of their people or human users stored in their Active Directory. But for all the kind of machine or bot accounts, they don't want to create accounts for them in the Active Directory, so they want to maintain those the login credentials for those clients kind of internal to the broker.
Yep.
So you could picture a scenario where, with some sort of data distribution scheme where maybe you want to control who is looking at the data, but the sources of the data, I mean, it's not important, right? So it'd be sort of an automated user that is publishing the data, but then it's human users that are looking at it and want to see, perhaps what they're looking at or something like that, so track that against their credentials in Active Directory,
yeah.
or even authorizing it based on their Active Directory.
Yeah.
So that's what that feature.
Fault cache connections, for example, as well. You might not have an LDAP account for those things, or any kind of monitoring type of capabilities. But yeah, so you'd have your apps configured locally, and humans get that. We do have a question or a comment here from Madame. Any new features added to the appliance? These are all added to the appliance. The very first one was Kubernetes software broker specifically, but pretty much everything in here applies to both the hardware appliance and to the software. So yes, everything here pretty much, unless Paul corrects me, but
yeah, I'm not sure. I think it probably all is, actually. I'm not sure exactly what you'd use the Kubernetes readiness engine for, but it's most likely there.
You're not installing Solace hardware appliances in your cluster, I don't think so.
Probably not. Yeah.
Not today, anyway. All right. Observability. This was so for those, this is a very specific hardware. This is hardware only, right? I mean,
this one is, yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to get this on the software broker. The NAB, for those that maybe don't know, but everybody should know, but the NAB is our network acceleration blade. That is the network card that controls the input, output, TCP connections, all that stuff of all the Solace clients coming into the appliance router. Those that might know our biggest NAB is 8 by 10 gig. So 8 ports. And we now expose a new SEMP and CLI show command, show interface rates, that will report on a per interface basis. So like per port, what the current, is it byte rates only, or is it message rate and probably byte rate only, because it's at the kind of layer 3, right?
I believe it's byte rate only.
Yeah, I would assume so. I actually I haven't downloaded the newest version yet, so I'm still running 10.25. something on my local well, I guess if it's hardware only, then maybe my software broker won't detect it. But this is a really great feature for those that are pushing their hardware appliances to the limit, want to make sure that on a per interface basis, they are not running up against any hard walls, any hard limits for their throughput. So basically just add this alongside all of your other SEMP monitoring, such as show stats client, show message VPN stats, all those kinds of features, and CLIs or SEMP commands. But this just gives you yet another way to kind of look into the appliance's throughput and do that. Now, you're going to say something, Paul? I was going
to say that there is there is a fairly specific use case for this, right? Because it's got 8 ports on the NAB, like you said, and it's it's very common to deploy those in a lag or one or two. Quite often, people configure two 4-port lags and then configure them together into the inactive standby interface. And so what happens is that in some cases, when we're deciding how to load balance between the ports that are in the lag, you can end up with hash collisions, and you can end up not getting very equal sharing of the bandwidth between the interfaces. And so that's really what this feature is meant to provide visibility into. If you have, you know, a couple high bandwidth connections that all hash to the same port, and you end up, you know, you can end up saturating one of the ports, even though there's other ones, or
Yeah.
you know, bandwidth available on the other one. So this feature allows you to monitor for that condition.
Yep. Yep. That is useful. I would like to point out, I guess, just maybe for those. So we, you know, in CLI and in SEMP, we've had show interface for a really long time, and it kind of shows you with the lag members and all that kind of stuff. But show interface, you know, 161 details will actually report the a byte counter, how many bytes have gone through that thing. So if you're using something like a Prometheus or an Influx or something else in the back end to kind of track that data historically, you could convert it into a Delta count, and you could have extrapolated this data anyway. This just exposes it in a nicer to have kind of single rates, I guess, view. Same with the queues, right? We came out with show queue rates quite a few years ago, and I was thinking you just do a delta between the last number of messages through it and the current number of messages through it, and then you have your rates for that particular measurement time. So this just makes it a lot easier to guys to monitor on a per interface level what your bytes are, right? So, all right, what's next? Oh yes, this is something that I've been kind of pushing on. I think I raised a ticket to Steve Butchko probably about 6 years ago, maybe, for this particular thing. The ability to control from the broker, from the administrator of the broker, which messages get routed to the DMQ or which queues, basically being able to override the per publisher behavior. I guess rewinding a little bit, up until this feature came out, the behavior whether a message was eligible to go to your DMQ, you know, in case there was a processing problem, the consumer could not process that message or consume it, or too many redeliveries, it would get moved off to the DMQ or discarded. And it was up to the publisher to set on each published message a DMQ eligible flag, right? This is a per message setting that the publisher sets to say whether it is eligible to go to the broker. Ulrich Louis says yes, DMQ killer feature. I know. I was so happy when this came out. And so now, on a per queue basis, just like we kind of did with TTL and max TTL on the queue, you can now specify as an administrator of the broker, for this particular queue, ignore all the DM. I don't care about the DMQ eligible, just like discard the message if there's too many redeliveries. Or regardless of whether they've set the DMQ eligible flag, I want the messages to go to a DMQ, right? So it puts the control of the routing of the messages inside the broker back into the broker's administrator's hands versus relying on the publisher to set this correctly. So very useful feature, in my opinion. I think especially for maybe our very enterprisey, guaranteed messaging, iPaaS-y type customers, you know, that that heavily use the DMQ behavior. You know, if the consumer can't process it, obviously, usually that message pops over into the DMQ. They might want to fix their consumer app and then republish that or copy using our new message copy feature that came out about 2-3 years ago. Put it back into the production queue and keep going. Very useful capability. We don't rely on the publisher anymore. So that's good, right? Yeah. Paul's quiet. I've said enough about this.
I know it's your favorite feature, so I probably don't have anything to add beyond what you've already said. So
I have been requesting this for a long time. So yeah, eventually the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So I'm happy that this finally came out. So it's been a while since I've actually played with it, since it did come out in 10.25.10. But there is a VPN level override, and then there's a per queue override, right? That's, if I remember correctly. I think the VPN has to kind of allow this override ability, so you can kind of keep the default behavior, and then if you're, as a broker administrator, you're like, I want to be able to manage this stuff manually, I think you have to enable it at the VPN level, and then you can go and on a per queue basis turn it on or off. So go check it out, play with it, give it a try. I know I ran into one kind of thing that I thought was a bit odd, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But very useful feature. Uli's right. It is a killer feature in my opinion too. All right. Just around harmonizing the kind of, I guess, the symmetry. I don't know how you say. The smallest software broker that we have, not the dev broker, but the smallest enterprise broker that we have, the 1K tier, 1K connection tier, now supports since 10.25.1. So this one just squeaked in, I guess, one rolling release after the last LTS, the ability to have the small brokers send messages up to 30 megabytes. And before that, 10 megabytes was the largest guarantee. This is for guaranteed messaging, by the way. The largest guaranteed message that they could send was 10 megabytes. And I guess what this means as a feature, it basically allows, if you're building a DMR mesh with small brokers and medium-sized brokers and large brokers, this makes sure that that if a large message, 20, 25 megabyte message is published in a big broker, it can still make it all the way to the small edge brokers, and just gives us that nice homogeneous, I don't know, homogeneous behavior. I don't know how you'd say that, but yeah, does require some extra memory to be thrown at the pod. Paul, I think you probably know some of the broker internals about this, but having the small brokers with their kind of limited resources, 2 cores, 2 gigs, 4 gigs, I forget the requirement, having it be able to support, in an effective way, these large message sizes required some fancy insides in the broker, right?
Well, I mean, the broker is storing forward, right? So it comes down to buffers at the end of the day, and how many messages the broker can kind of keep in memory to process at one time. And so that's why we need to add more memory. And we're trying to keep the size of the 1K broker small so it can be deployed resource constrained environments. And so that's how we ended up with the 2 different sizes. And so basically this, when you enable this feature, you have to up the number of buffers basically to the next level up in order to be able to support the larger message sizes. And the use case is exactly as you said. If you've got a DMR where you've got maybe large 100K brokers in your headquarters or something like that, and they're talking to smaller brokers out on the edge, you can end up in a case where you can maybe accidentally, but you can end up publishing a message larger than 10 megabytes, and then it ends up getting sent to one of the smaller edge brokers, which of course would have to discard it, and so generally ends up bad things can end up happening.
Yep. I can see this being a very useful feature for some of our maybe kind of very distributed retail, like shopping store type use cases, where maybe you're publishing kind of mastered pricing data from some central location. It's a big spreadsheet or something of all the pricing information for your products, and you want to make sure that gets all to your edge brokers, your stores. Maybe all have a 1K broker running inside them. I can see this being a very useful feature there. Related but not a broker feature, I put in this kind of bit at the bottom here. So sometime during the year, and I didn't actually figure out exactly what version, but we introduced the ability in our Solace APIs basically automatically to do payload compression. And this basically is a session property that you enable, and it tells the API, before you send this message, actually compress it using deflate and publish it into Solace. Historically, Solace has had a compressed port that you can connect on, and we still do, and that provides the ability to compress what you stream to the broker. Basically, the connection gets compressed, right? So it's running, I think, gzip or zip on that. It's like a streaming compression, and so everything as it gets sent out onto the wire is compressed, but when it gets to the broker, it's uncompressed, right? So if you're talking message spool, if you're talking storing guaranteed messages, within the broker, these messages are still kind of fully full size. And what it does is it helps bandwidth, right? If you had to send a lot, maybe over the WAN, you want to compress it going over the WAN, that would be a very useful feature using our streaming compression. This API feature basically says we're going to zip it up, and it's end-to-end. It's end-to-end compression. So even within the broker, it's small. But there was, in my opinion, we didn't quite do it perfectly at the first time, because the API will actually check how big this message is before compression. And so I guess very brand new. So in 10.30, if you go and look at, if you Google, Solace API's new feature list, This just got released not too long ago in their new Java APIs, and I guess coming soon to other ones. It actually checks that 30 megabyte limit after compression. So now if you had an XML or a JSON or some very compressible piece of thing that you have to send over the WAN, you can now basically, as long as compressed, it's below 30 megs, you can actually publish it. So yeah, if you have a very verbose XML file, it might compress down very, very nicely. And yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I'm glad you added that one in, actually, Eric. It's not really dependent on the broker. It's really all implemented in the API, but it is a very useful feature, and for a bunch of reasons. So I do encourage people to check that one out, because with very minimal changes to your applications, you can kind of gain performance in a whole bunch of different dimensions, right? I mean, for one, if you're using the streaming compression today, the broker is processing this on many streams from many clients, and so this really puts a heavy processing toll on the broker and as you said, the broker needs to decompress the stream in order to be able to make a forwarding decision on each message. And then if you want to receive that message on a compressed stream again, then we have to recompress it on the way out. And so this puts just a really heavy processing toll on the broker. Whereas this, I mean, obviously all the same processing, well, maybe less actually overall.
Yeah.
But essentially it allows you to sort of distribute that compression workload to the applications where they're not processing as much bandwidth. So you can get, and in fact, ultimately the broker can process more messages per second. I mean, there's obviously a per message processing limit, but if you're, primarily running up against the bandwidth limitations of the broker, you might have more messages per second that you can, you might have capacity still outstanding there, and compressing this stuff at the edge so the broker doesn't see that bandwidth will actually help you get more performance. And increase the performance effectively of your broker.
Yep. So especially in guaranteed messaging use cases, the performance of the broker is heavily tied to the disk and and writing stuff to the message spool. So yeah, if you have very verbose and easily compressible messages, this could eke a significant amount of performance out of the broker. So
exactly, and it's easy to turn on with minimal changes to the application. So it's just all good.
Yeah. As Paul mentioned, like the streaming compression is on a per connection basis. So both the API and the broker have to do work on either end of that. The nice thing about that is that whether you connect compressed or uncompressed, it kind of just all looks the same. To use this particular feature, obviously, if you're using a Solace API, one of these particular APIs, the API automatically inflates and deflates the message for you. But if you're using MQTT, AMQP, a different protocol, you are now going to have to do work, right? You as a consumer of that message, it's just standard deflate, but you do have to, you're getting a compressed message now. It's pushing, it makes everybody that receives that particular message have to do work. So you're really pushing that the decompression, so if you have a massive fan out, you're now doing, maybe if you have 1,000 clients receiving that message, you have to do 1,000 decompresses across your whole enterprise, I guess. I don't know, but everybody has to do some work if you're going to use this feature. So pros and cons, there's always trade-offs, right? I mean, everything in Solace world is always pros and cons, and it kind of depends on your use case. So that's it. Oh, that's it for my notable things since in the last year. But I do want to kind of flash up just a couple things that have come out since 10.8.1. I know quite a few customers are still running, or just getting off 10.8.1 since it went out of support, I think about last week officially. So that's why everybody's waiting for 10.26.0. Just a couple mentions, I guess. Something that came out in 10.25.11. So again, during this past year, we now have for distributed tracing, open telemetry, the ability to trace context propagation with AMQP. So no longer is it just Solace SMF protocol, wireline protocol that is published out as part of OTel traces, but we now have AMQP that came out in 10.25, and that just rounds out the rest of our protocols. We had REST came out in 10.10.1. So, you know, if you're using RDPs heavily, our REST delivery points to talk to cloud brokers, you can turn on OpenTelemetry for those. And 10.10.1 was also when we kind of added some extra spans and notifications if a message was administratively deleted or moved to the DMQ, for example. So that just rounds out our distributed tracing OpenTelemetry kind of visibility, I guess you could say. So if you're using AMQP today, either partially or fully, you can now use OpenTelemetry through the broker. You can see which message, which queue it landed on, you know, when it left the broker, when the ACK came back.
And I think that we're continuing to invest in OpenTelemetry and distributed tracing. Because I think right now is not specifically in my area, but we're also extending this to micro integrations and so that you'll get even further end-to-end visibility using OpenTelemetry.
Yep. And speaking of, Andrew McKenzie is going to be my guest next month, and he's going to show us all the new and cool things around micro integrations, which is our, you know, connectors plus transforms, specifically around the MDK. He's going to build a micro integration live on air as part of his demo. And if he doesn't know that, he knows it now. But I think that's what he agreed to. So Andrew, if you're out there listening, you're on the spot now. And that's what you're going to be doing. So come back next month to see that. But yeah, and so essentially just our micro integrations are little Java apps. They're running kind of outside the broker. They allow publishing to and from different data sources between different brokers, and with sometimes payload transformation capabilities. That's why we call them micro integrations rather than just connectors, because they can do payload transform. And yeah, of course, they can be instrumented just like our other APIs can be instrumented with OpenTelemetry. And so all of that would flow into your observability backend through the collector, and be able to see all your end-to-end flow of messages. So yeah, cool. And we are continuing to support not just traces, but metrics and spans as part of our insights platform. I can't speak to that very, very much, but I know that we are looking to kind of hook into that. That's been standardized now. So we're building stuff around there. Integrated Kafka Bridge, for those that don't know, the software broker today can actually act as a Kafka client and connect directly into a Kafka cluster without the need for the Kafka Connect connectors or other kind of in-between things. This is essentially a broker-to-broker connection. And I guess, I certainly can't speak to this feature much more than reading this slide, but I guess if you're running Kafka in AWS, would that be MSK? That's their Kafka flavor? Yep. Microsoft Kafka, I guess, that's probably what it stands for.
Probably not Microsoft and Amazon, but
oh yeah. Sorry, brain fart there. So what does MSK stand for then?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, Managed Service Kafka, maybe. Who knows? Maybe somebody out there will put it in the chat. So this allows you, yeah. So we've extended it to allow AWS Signature version 4. I remember when the broker implemented that for RDPs. I actually did an office hours on that. That was during the pandemic. That was a while ago. But it basically allows your broker to authenticate directly into AWS. So it makes kind of that publishing into the cloud just that much easier. And so I guess we've extended that capability to the integrated software broker, integrated Kafka Bridge, to allow that easy interop there, right? So good. Anything? If you have any more color, just feel free to jump in there, Paul. Again, authentication. I'm so not good at this stuff, but OAuth hardening, PKCE and MLS. Oh, okay. So this is between the broker talking to the OAuth provider, I assume, right? And it's just basically hardening some of the interop there.
Yeah, this would be for cases like if you're logging into the manager using OAuth. So like kind of for SSO type use cases and things like this. So in that case, so you
the manager GUI, the
manager GUI, that's
yeah.
right. So you hit the button at the login screen that says I want to log in with whatever Entra or whatever, pick your favorite identity provider. And then so what happens is you'll get redirected off to Entra, and then you've seen this all 1,000 times. It tells you to put in your login credentials, and then it redirects you back to the broker. So that redirect link actually goes to to the broker backend. It doesn't come back to your browser. And then the broker backend is actually what goes out and connects out to the identity provider to get the token. So you're in that type of an application, where we have like a smart backend kind of, right? The browser never actually gets the token. So the token, the broker gets the token, and the broker keeps the token. The browser never actually sees it.
Okay.
And so PKCE, it's an extra step. It's really meant more for things where the browser is storing the token. I think there's an extra authentication step to make sure that the broker that is receiving the token is actually the one that initiated the request in the first place. So there's like a little cryptographic handshake that goes between the two steps.
Yep.
And a lot of customers have security policies that require them to have PKCE enabled.
Okay.
Doesn't actually add a ton of security for cases like ours where the browser doesn't actually receive the token. But we've added it so that we can interact with these authorization servers that have this turned on with no way to disable it.
Okay.
So we can perform the PKCE handshake now, and the broker will respond back properly.
Good to know.
Yeah, similar. So it's not a big deal. It's on all the time. If you don't have PKCE on your identity provider, then it just gets ignored.
Yeah. If you're not a security nerd, it doesn't really matter. But
yeah, you won't even.
It's nice to have. So.
But the MTLS grant, credentials for grant, is kind of interesting. I think we'll see more customers using this, but there are, again, certain specific customers that have this as the only option. And so again, when the broker has to go out and connect to the identity provider to get that token, it has to provide some credentials. So this is in the broker UI. If you're configuring this, you'll see this as the client ID and client secret. And so it is basically a username and password. And so some customers, again, the ones we've talked about them earlier, that have a requirement for disabling basic authentication network wide. This is an obvious issue for them. And so basically all this does is allows you to, instead of using the client ID and client secret, actually upload a client certificate to use to authenticate with that token endpoint on the identity provider.
Oh. And this is for management users as well, I guess, eh?
It's only for management users.
This is all for management users.
Because if you're a client user, the client goes out and connects to the token endpoint directly to get the token, and then they send then the client sends the token to the broker, and then we validate the token.
So I guess, like, if you're building, again, like some kind of automated tooling, monitoring applications that need to connect and read only, for example, that's just doing a bunch of show commands, and you're not allowed to use basic auth anymore, like longtime customers have been doing forever. The certificate there could be a useful kind of way to interoperate with a kind of a OAuth type environment.
Well, for a SEMP application, it's slightly different, right? A SEMP user is more like a client. So if you're a SEMP user,
this is specifically for manage. Okay, so it's just the application manager. Got it. Okay.
But you can still do this if you're a SEMP user. It's just, it makes because the SEMP application is responsible for going and connecting and getting the token, and then they include that token with the SEMP request that they send to the broker. So there was never anything stopping you from, I guess, using a client cert as a SEMP application to go and get that token and pass it in, right?
Okay.
But specifically for the manager, both of the features.
Again, authentication stuff is not my forte at Solace World. A lot of people know that, but thanks for all the details there on that, Paul. I probably know more than I ever need to or want to. Quick comment here from our longtime friend of the stream, Running Roach. Managed streaming, MSK, managed streaming, Kafka. That makes sense if that's correct. Thanks for putting that in there. And good evening. Hope you're doing well out there in Hong Kong. Couple more here. In-service vertical scaling, scale up. Now, old-time users of Solace will remember when, for example, the hardware appliances, if you wanted to do a Solace upgrade, it was a giant pain in the butt. You had to basically turn off message spool, turn off the message bus. You had a good 30-minute outage while you uploaded or upgraded both brokers. That was a massive feature, I think, in like 6.2 or something way back when, the ability to do in-service upgrades. And I guess this is just kind of carrying on in that tradition. We can now scale up a software broker. Again, operations Kubernetes here, but yeah, software brokers, you can actually basically scale it up in an if you have HA, obviously in service. If you have a standalone broker, it's got to reboot, right? Well, I'm assuming there's a reboot. This is or does it just? Yeah, it does reboot. Okay, yeah, it doesn't just grow like dynamically. It has to still, but it allows you to basically do it HA one at a time, and everything carries on.
Yeah, well, I mean, like a lot of obviously the software broker has inherited a lot of behaviors from the appliance, which was first, and they still share most of the code, really, right? And so we were talking before about the 30 meg messages and such, right? This is very similar to that. So that 10 meg, 30 meg flag is a scaling parameter, as we call them, and which is subject to kind of the rules of scaling up. So when you add memory to the broker, then basically you have to reboot it so that you tell it to use that memory that you've given it.
Yeah.
Because we're careful about not turning some of these things on by default, because obviously when if you go to upgrade and then it needs more memory than before in order to start, then you might get surprised and have your upgrade fail, which that's already a stressful time. So we don't need to make it more stressful. So we generally gate some of these features behind the scaling parameters so that you have to basically say, yes, turn on this feature, and yes, I understand that I have to add extra memory before doing so, kind of, right? And so before, basically, because the active and standby kind of exchanged some information, we had to make sure that all these data structures were the same size in order for them to synchronize properly with each other. And so that's why before you used to have to basically stop service, upscale them both, and then re-enable redundancy so that they could exchange this information. So what this feature does, it makes it really easy now, because it's really just like an upgrade. So if you want to scale up something, you want to add say you want to go from 10 meg messages to 30 meg messages, basically what you can do is you can just on the standby go in, hit the button, add the memory, the broker will reboot, fail over to it, and then do the same on the previously active system. So
now in 10.8, I believe we came out with the subscription scaling feature as well, which would allow a small 1K broker. Now, when we say 1K, like we talk about these connection tiers. It's not just number of connections. I mean, that's kind of just the top line number. Like, it does limit on that. But these different tiers that the software broker has, 1K, 10K, 100K, it's not just the number of connections. It's also like how many cores it's using and how many threads it has internally and how much, queues it's allowed to use and all sorts of, and performance wise as well. So, I mean, we use it as a shorthand, and it's just called, the 1K connection tier, but it's not just connections. And I think we try to kind of get that knowledge out there that, as you scale up the tier, you might get more connections, but you're also going to get more horsepower overall, right? For the broker to do its work. But
yeah, it was a poor choice to kind of name the
I didn't want to say that, but yeah, it's like I said, let's not call it connection tier. Let's just call it the 1K tier, and it applies to
1K broker or whatever. Yeah, but it's there's a whole bunch more comes along with that other than just a number of client connections. Yeah. So that is an important distinction to make.
Yeah, and so in line with that, kind of the ability to go from 10 meg to 30 meg message size, also we made the ability for a 1K broker to go from 50,000 subscriptions max limit up to 5 million subscriptions max limit, which is the same as the hardware appliance, which is the same as the large software brokers. And this again allows small edge brokers to participate fully in a DMR mesh, where it tries to sync the subscription table from the large core brokers and blows up its, subscription database, right? So if you're building a very distributed, heterogeneous mix of brokers in DMR or MNR even, that allows you to mix and match, where your small edge brokers, which only have a few cores and maybe not as much RAM, you have to add more RAM, and you can now sync the whole 5 million up to 5 million subscriptions there too. So this vertical scaling, is this specifically for the 30 megabyte message thing, or is this for the subscription thing as well? It
applies to everything.
It applies to everything. All right.
Yeah, so if you want to scale up the number of subscriptions, the same process. And I think even at the same time, we actually even added in a feature that would allow you to scale up in multiple dimensions in a single operation.
Ooh.
So if you wanted to turn on DMR, say in your network, and you had a bunch of small edge brokers deployed around, so you could scale up the 30 meg and the 5 million subscriptions in a single operation.
That, I'd probably still do one thing at a time, but that's just me. Last one here. I guess this came out in 10.11, so not too a while ago. Basically, we scaled up the number of RDPs. A lot of our kind of enterprisey and cloud-based customers especially use RDPs, REST delivery points, to integrate with their various backends. It allows the broker to REST post, essentially a webhook, out to different types of services, into the cloud, into databases, and we've basically scaled up the number of connections and numbers of RDPs that you're allowed to configure on the broker. So just a useful thing for those people that use Solace a lot with their REST native services. And yeah, that's the end of the slides. But I just want to flash up something here. If you wanted to see, basically, I pulled all this information from our products. If you don't know, products.solace.com is where you can go to log in and find out all of your this is where you download your new APIs, your new appliance loads, your new software brokers. And if I just pop into here to the current LTS for the appliance, of course, if you clicked on the software broker as well, you'll see I have release notes, which is everything kind of that's new in this particular feature. But also we have release history, which looks back a fair bit. And that is what I basically pulled. Let me zoom in here a little bit. That is what I pulled all this slide deck information from. So basically everything that came out in 10.20, all the rolling releases here, 10.25, blah, 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 blah. You can see all the different things. As you can see, we didn't we didn't go through everything here, but quite a few. And then a couple going back further, 10.12, before we rebranded our numbering system to the calendar year. Here's 10.12, 10.11, and so on and so on. Here's that RDP one we just talked about. So all this information is always available to you, the Solace customer, if you go into the products file download site. Running Roach comes back. What do you? Oh no, we didn't get increased number of active total external client connections for the appliance. Oh, yeah. You want more than, okay. So yeah, the hardware appliance as of today, 30,000 enterprise connections, 200,000 WebSocket, or what do we call them? Web connections? I forget the terminology, but
yeah, I believe that's web messaging clients, I think we call it.
Primarily designed for IoT, I was thinking it was for MQTT as well. Yeah, so kind of enterprise versus not. So today, no. 10.26, no. And there is the Solace broker team has been hard at work on a bunch of new stuff, some new secret stuff that not even I know about, but there is going to be some stuff coming out soon, from what I'm told. Maybe Paul, you want to spill any beans? Probably not, eh? I'm sure there'll be some big announcement at some point.
Lots of interesting stuff coming up.
Lots of interesting stuff. Oh my gosh! All right, well, stay tuned.
The excitement high, yeah, and the mystery.
Now we've been talking a lot about the broker, all the broker stuff. Solace's kind of main core product, but of course the Solace platform is vast and variety. Like we have our Solace Cloud, all the managed app as a service, the event portal, micro integrations, which we talked about, our Solace Agent Mesh, our new AI framework for building and running your AI agentic systems. This is fairly new, this page here. So solace.com/what's new. I don't know when this started, but it basically gives you kind of once a month, or I don't know how often this page is updated, but basically what has come out in the Solace platform, not just the broker. But as you can see here, micro integrations. We now do some more CDC type stuff. Lots of stuff about Agent Mesh. There's going to be some big announcements coming out about that very soon. Enabling large payloads. There we go. So that's the API feature that we were just talking about. That 30 megabyte check that the APIs do is now post compression rather than pre compression. So very useful. Some stuff about OTel going back to May. Agent Mesh workflows we now support. Observability. Anyway, head over to solace.com/what's new, and you can kind of keep an eye on. Oh, I heard about this, but I actually haven't played with it yet. XML payload transform. A lot of XML still out there, you know, flying around, and you know, that could be a useful thing. So we can convert XML to, I guess it's payload transformation. It can do XML to JSON. I guess I'll have to ask Andrew about this next week when he comes here, right?
Yeah, that's probably best. I'm not 100% sure if you can do that or not.
Yeah, oh, there's look at that. There's a little href tag dangling there. Oh, Running Roach has one more question. These would be the external connections to other brokers through DMR cluster appliance limited to 4 HA sites connected to an active mesh. The total, I thought we did some DMR scaling. Isn't it like 62 now or something? I thought there was some.
That's still on the roadmap. But that's kind of coming up.
Oops.
But
is that public? I don't know. Yeah, we are scaling DMR to allow a bigger mesh. So,
but you're allowed, I believe, 14 links between
14
brokers.
is the number that I know too. Yeah.
So I forget exactly how the math works there, but then you have to do, obviously you need to connect active and standby. So yeah, I could see how possibly it's 4 HA sites.
4 times 16, maybe. Yeah. How DMR works with HA is not, I'm not super familiar with, but
yeah,
I think it should be more than that.
Yeah, I think it should be more than that too, because I don't think you need the separate links to each active and standby of an HA pair. One HA pair, it's like a single broker.
Exactly. In the old days of MNR, when you ran active hardware appliances and both would actually be active, the links would be connected, but due to CSPF, you know, only one would be kind of actually routing the data due to the weights and everything like that. But I don't think that's the case with DMR and HA. I think they're aware of each other, and I think it's only 1-to-1. So.
If you turn on replication, then you need to connect links to the replication site.
So, Running Roach, we both think 4 is too low, but we can't tell you right off the top of our head what the real number is. So, it's something I'll ping around internally, and maybe I'll get back to you. So, thanks.
And relief is coming.
Yeah, and relief is coming. Yeah. So even if we're wrong, yeah, we are coming out with 3 sites, 4 appliances each. Okay, yeah. If you have a full DR setup, a full quad, then okay, maybe that might make sense. Anyway, you won't have to worry for long. We are going to scale DMR at some point, I guess, and hopefully I didn't spill somebody's beans in advance. So, well, tell you what, it's the top of the hour. That was a whole hour. That went quick. I think it went quick. Paul, thank you very much for coming in on your day off, I might say. Thanks for doing that. I hope you have a rest of your nice couple days off there. Canada Day tomorrow. Are you doing anything fun for public holiday?
No, not too much.
No? Fireworks? Go downtown? No?
I don't live too far away. I might be able to see it from the backyard, but
well, I am flying to Regina, Saskatchewan tonight after work, and I'm going to be there for a couple days. I'm going to be there for Canada Day. I don't know what they do for Canada Day, but I've only been to Regina once. It was a couple years ago when I drove. My mom and I drove all the way from Ottawa to Vancouver and back, road tripped across Canada. Did you know it is Canada's largest provincial capital building? It is a massive, provincial capital. I mean, way bigger than Ontario. It is a pretty cool building, and it sits in a big, beautiful park that is actually bigger than Central Park. So it's if you've never been to Regina, they have a very nice little kind of space downtown where the provincial building is, and yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing for a couple of days. So I will see you back next time. Any last words, Paul, before we wrap?
Not too much. I think we covered most of the things. I just wanted to, but I'm happy that we were able to get a chance to talk about all the new stuff in 10.26.0. So hopefully now it's available now. So start upgrading.
Start upgrading. Put it in non-prod. Give it a run. Give it a soak, and get on with it. Paul, we're gonna have you back every June. I think this should become an annual tradition. So
Okay. Yeah,
just before Canada Day. Yeah. Thank you to everybody out there for joining and your questions. Thanks for watching the replay if you're watching that. Check out the Solace community where we hang out and answer all things questions about Solace. Next month, I'll be back with Andrew McKenzie from the product management team to talk about micro integrations and all the cool new things that they are building there. Maybe they'll have the telemetry done by then. We can see. I don't know. We're not putting them on the hook for too much, but the MDK, that's what Andrew said he can do. So building a micro integration live on air to integrate 2 different data sources or something. So come back and check that out. So to all our American colleagues and friends out there, happy 4th of July. It's a big one, 250. Yeah, God bless America. That's an impressive number of years. I don't think I'll make it that far. Paul, thanks a lot. And well, thanks everybody. We're gonna see you next time. All right.
Bye everyone.
Bye-bye.